Well, guys, there's been so much going on. Bilbo's here. There's so much going on, lots to talk about, so we're taking a break from video games tonight. I know, insane, right? The rare yapping stream. Don't get me wrong, I like yapping streams, but there's just so many games to constantly get through. But that's okay, because today is different. Only one day, though, because on Thursday we're gonna go back to Kazan. We still have a couple of boss fights. I think it's 3 in Kazan, right? I believe. Either way, we still have a lot to do in that game, but after the emotional turmoil we went through with Expedition 33 here, I gotta be honest, we just needed a little break. Maybe not too big of a break, but something is better than nothing, I guess. But there's a lot that's been happening. Follow-ups to topics I've already been covering, like Joel and 1. I haven't really been talking too much about Thunderbolts. I talked about it like once, and that was it. I gotta be honest, I had absolutely no interest in the movie, and I feel like most people didn't really have that much of an interest in the movie, because how many times are we going to give Marvel a chance? You know what I mean? Like when it's a Deadpool and a Wolverine type superhero movie, okay, well that's, I feel a little bit different. But when it's just a band of stupid fucking characters, like Eternals, why am I gonna spend the time to watch that or talk about it all the time? You know what I mean? Like, I feel like there's not a lot of interest there. What do I know, though? Besides apparently everything, because I said it probably wasn't going to do good, and it's not doing good. It is not doing good. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about GTA a little bit, probably. We're going to talk about the most depressing game I've played in years. The best, but most depressing. There's also an article. Great, I know, right? I don't even know how to describe it. There's an article. As I'm sure you can already tell by the title, Patriarchy in Gaming. Exactly what we needed to spend multiple hours talking about tonight. I love being able to just waste a full Tuesday night talking about the patriarchy and the way that it affects the gaming industry. But this one's a little bit special. This one's a little bit special because you would think to yourself, bringing up Crash Override, which is, of course, Zoe Quinn's company, would have been more aimed towards, I don't know, Gamergate 1 discussions. Not today. Because, oh, it's a Gamergate 2 topic. Oh my fucking god, look at this shit. Is it ever that serious? Is it ever that serious, guys? I just randomly found this, and apparently it's brand new. And at first I was like, no, this has gotta be like a re-upload. There's no shot that this is new. It is, because they talk about Black Girl Gamers. They talk about all that Gamergate stuff. They talk about Take This, which is the Homeland Security funded organization. They talk about a lot of random stuff, so we got a lot to go through. Are we actually going to get through this whole entire thing? Probably not. There's so incredibly much here. It is insane. And by the way, in case you wanted to know my source, it's breakingdownthepatriarchy.com. It's just, the jokes really write themselves. They truly do. Like, just when you think there's no fucking way that this is, like, legitimate, or that somebody actually, they did take the time to write this. It's not, in fact, AI. So we'll probably get through that. I don't know if we'll go through the whole entire thing, but as you can see, there's a lot to talk about there. We're gonna talk about The Last of Us, which I don't want to talk about. I don't feel bad for the people who are just learning what The Last of Us is. because we tried to tell them back in 2020, but also it kind of sucks for these people who are having complete and utter meltdowns over the show being so bad. Like, we knew it was going to be bad. Okay, we knew that whatever love these people had for season 1 of the show was going to die a quick death when season 2 rolled around. That was the whole problem with the second game. And then, of course, when the second game came out, the media was saying, oh, you guys are just overreacting, and this is the direction the writers wanted to take it in, and they should be allowed to take it in that direction. Sure. But that doesn't mean that we have to like it. And clearly, nobody really does like it. Neil Druckmann said it was toxic gamers, right? Oh, gamers are the problem. Gamers aren't giving it a chance. Yeah, well, judging by the fact that it's sitting at a 3.9, and I'm sure some gamers rated this, right? But these are primarily moviegoers who absolutely hate it. Even the critics aren't giving it 90 or 95s, which is so funny. Oh, and then we have this clip. I would say I don't know what they're doing with this, but the problem is that Neil Druckmann believes nothing he does could actually be hated or disliked. And so then we end up just getting piles of trash like this. I'm gonna be a dad. No, you're not, stupid. Shut up. So yeah, we have a lot to get through. But hi guys, welcome to the live stream. Hope you're doing good. Night with the first real comment of the stream. Why does Ellie have Down syndrome? Random question to ask, but I guess that probably is the first legitimate question. Let's do a deep dive. I fucking hate Neil Druckmann. Yeah, he sucks. The problem with him is that he believes that he is always correct. And I understand that to a certain extent. Creatives need to like the product that they're making. They have to feel like connected to it in a way. But also, the problem is that people like him just can never accept the fact that, hey, I created something that other people didn't really like. It would be one thing if he was like, at least I'm happy with it. Not everybody's gonna agree, and it's totally cool if you don't like it. No, it's, of course, you're ists or phobes, and you're just terrible people for not, of course, simply shutting up, consuming product, and then moving on to the next. Neil Druckmann really did come from the gaming industry. I guess that's what they all do now. I don't want to say that he started it, because obviously Gamergate 1 had happened years before, but I feel like he made it significantly worse, because the first game was so well received, and then the second was obviously very controversial, and instead of just owning up to it and saying, hey, listen, it's cool if you guys don't like it, he went to the ists and phobes, and then he said the gamers didn't know what the hell they were talking about, which clearly has been proven wrong, given it's not just gamers who don't like the story, it's everybody. But this is just what happens when you end up abandoning the characters and killing off the characters that people ended up falling in love with. Like, if Joel had been killed off at the very end of The Last of Us 2, it would have felt differently. But the problem is that they kill him off super early, and then, for the game at least, they take the whole entire game trying to get you to sympathize with Abby, when all we really can do is hate her guts. I guess there's probably like 5 people out there who actually like Abby, so I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about the normal people out there. And the show, of course, the show changed all that, because they couldn't make the whole season about Abby. And I don't know what the fuck they were thinking, except for, let's put the least amount of effort possible into this. Both gamers and show viewers are saying the same exact thing. Yeah. And are the people who attacked us, years ago going to actually like admit this? Of course not, right? The mainstream media will always double, triple, and quadruple down and say, no, 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 this audience, which happens to be TV viewers and moviegoers, are still wrong or just as wrong. And I talked about this in another video, but I have a Collider article here. It's not the same one, but Collider had done another article where they basically said, oh, it's still the same toxic gamers that are review bombing the show. Like, there's no shot you're telling me that there were just people from 5 years ago who decided on a whim, oh, I'm just gonna review bomb this even though I don't like this, and then 5 years later they're so committed to the bit that they're coming back to review bomb it again. Like, that's just not realistic. Sure, somebody like me played the second game and then paid attention to what was going on with it, and I see the TV show, and it's the same thing. But if you're just telling me that there were random people who just wanted to, like, review bomb this show because, I don't know, they didn't like that the lead character's a lesbian or something, like, you're not going to convince me that those same people have decided 5 years later just to keep up the bit. Clearly, it's just people who didn't like the show and who didn't like the game. And I'd say the media needs to, I don't know, realize that, but that's asking a lot from the 5 people who are still left in the industry. Maybe one day Jason Schreier will give us an updated number. What did he say, that there was like 40 people left in the industry? It seems that 40 just can't go away. Like, why are we still clinging on to those 40 people? Like, we need to get rid of the rest. It's the only way that the industry is going to change, though, is if they leave. I guess since we're talking about The Last of Us, we might as well start with it. Spoiler alert! I also think it's so fucking funny because I've done a couple of videos on The Last of Us Season 2, and I've seen a couple of really angry comments from people who were like, thanks for the fucking spoiler, lady. Listen. If it was a brand new big twist in a show that was brand new, I'd say, hey, whoa, no spoilers. But it was from 5 years ago. Like, sure, it's a different medium now, but it's not new. What kind of... Why you literally, you have to take your anger out on somebody. So it just happens to be a content creator who had talked about it 5 years ago when it initially happened. Like, if it was brand new, I'd get that, but it's not, you dipshit. Anyway, The Last of Us Season 2 review bombing sends Rotten Tomatoes audience score spiraling to a new low. Yes, guys, because it can't just simply be people being upset with the story and taking the time to leave disappointed reviews. It has to be review bombing. It has to be toxic viewers and bad individuals. What do they call us? Like bad apples, basically. Trolls, here we go. Trolls will find ways to circumvent the system no matter how hard platforms try to send them back to their caves. The reason why platforms like Rotten Tomatoes and Steam and Metacritic all have review bombing limitations now, or AI systems in place, is because they need to protect their own. Activists need to protect their own. It's not that we're crawling out of our caves and review bombing this simply because we're istrophobes. It happens to be that a large amount of people simply don't like the story that was written. It's literally just as simple as that. Yikes. Most recently, they crawled out to spread venom against The Last of Us Season 2 based on acclaimed video game The Last of Us Part 2. It's never the truth. It's never admitting what is real. I guess these people don't really know what reality is. So, I suppose I can't really expect that much from them. The first season of the HBO series was critically acclaimed, and it initially seemed like season 2 was being met with similar warmth. From the first episode's release, people were not happy with season 2. People were not happy that Ellie did not develop as a character at all between that time frame. And then, of course, in season 2, episode 2, they jolt and won. It says, though, but despite the positive reviews that it opened to a few weeks ago, the audience reception, or as one should point out, the troll reaction, has been quite negative. I think that it's funny that they do something like this when they could have literally just erased this, but instead, all they've done is say that audience members are just trolls, but they're not denying the fact that audiences' opinions are warranted. Because they're acknowledging that the people they're labeling as trolls are actually the audience. Therefore, it can't be a review bomb. Like, way to fucking contradict yourself. Whether these folks should be taken seriously is another matter, but the fact that they're able to manipulate audience scores on aggregator platforms, despite the efforts taken to prevent this sort of behavior, is a matter of concern. What is the point to have a website or a platform like a Metacritic or an IMDb if people cannot voice their opinions on it? If you wanted a controlled reaction and you wanted very PR reviews and like clearly purchased scores, you can just look at the critic scores. But audiences are not getting paid. Audiences are the ones paying, therefore they're going to be much more critical. I think that that's another issue with modern day reviewers, is that because they, for so many years, have been getting paid by the mainstream industry, that they have been given free codes or early access to content, or they're getting access to events, they don't understand the consumer point of view anymore. So they say, oh, this is a 9 out of 10, when audiences are saying it's a 6 out of 10, because they're so detached from reality. If they hadn't gotten access to anything early or gotten any codes for maybe like a year, maybe they would finally go, you know what? I'm actually waking up to this a little bit. Now that's giving them a lot of credit, saying that they could change their mentality. But because they've been they're so used to getting this access, and they're so used to giving things slightly higher scores, they're just detached. Not that they weren't beside that, but you know, it is what it is. Whether these folks should be taken seriously is another matter, but the fact that they're able to manipulate audience scores on these platforms, despite the efforts taken to prevent this sort of behavior, is a matter of concern. The Last of Us Season 2's audience score on Rotten Tomatoes has now fallen below the 50% mark for the first time, and is currently sitting at 49% despite positive reviews. Clearly, okay, the reviews aren't that fucking positive if it's under a 50. Why do you always have to do this shit? Well, even though the scores are at rock fucking bottom, the scores are positive. Bro, what are you yapping about? The show's critical rating on the aggregator website is still sitting pretty at a 95%. Yeah, because there's only 8 people left in the industry rating these fucking episodes. So, of course, when those 8 people have the same 8 opinions, it's gonna be near perfect. It's not like there's 100 people. There's 80 you guys left. A decline can be observed in the audience score, which stood at 58% not too long ago before falling to a 53 and then a 51. It was at 58 week 1. That's what it opened to. And as the weeks have gone on, the score has gone down. What are you on about? Do you really think that, oh, you can only rate the show based on the one episode, but you can't go and leave a new review or an updated review or delete your review because you changed your mind on it? And wouldn't you think that as time goes on, more people would be watching it? Well, they should be watching it. Not that they are, because clearly, judging by the absolute tank in the viewership and, of course, the reviews, people are not coming back to watch it or giving it another chance, which really is all Naughty Dog truly deserves. Mr. Melancholy, thank you for the 5. These pretentious, snobby journalists will white knight no matter what, even continue to smear the audience. Subverting expectations is trash writing. Oh, 100% agreed. Thank you so much for the 5. They will do anything to sound like they are correct and ultimately grasp onto the little bit of authority that they feel they have, because ultimately that's all these people care about is control. That's why they joined the video game and entertainment industries, because they thought that it was an easy way to make money. They thought that they would be able to come in, push their activism, and nobody would question them. Now, little did they realize that gamers are more than capable of speaking up for themselves and voicing when they're not happy with a product or when they're not happy with what an outlet is saying. But they thought that it was going to lead to more control and they would be able to affect this industry, and to a certain extent they have, but they haven't made as much change as they were hoping would be possible in this amount of time, and that's why they're so adamant on calling us trolls and trying their very best to like disregard our opinions. It says, though, there is a difference between negative reviews and review bombing, and it's quite obvious that The Last of Us Season 2 has been made a victim of the latter. What's the difference? That's right, you don't explain what the difference is because you are not able to form a cohesive argument here. The complaints this time around seem to be the same as they were when the Source video gamers were released. So, if the arguments are the same now that they were 5 years ago, don't you think that that's because the arguments are valid? What? What the fuck are you yapping about, man? Review bombers have taken offense to the manner in which Pedro Pascal's character Joel was killed off in the second episode. They've also continued to rant against Bella Ramsey, who plays Ellie in the series. More recently, Caitlin Dever was also targeted. Is it just me that thinks Caitlin Dever looks more like Ellie than Bella Ramsey? Caitlin Dever should have been Ellie. I've been thinking this for weeks now. I think I said it in one video. This chick should have been Ellie, not Abby. More recently, she was also targeted specifically by vicious audience members for the role her character played in Joseph. Surely there's an article linked here, right? Surely there's a source linked here, right, guys? Surely. Where is it? If she was targeted so viciously, wouldn't you want to call that out? Wouldn't you want to point to that? Wouldn't you want to prove that? Wouldn't you want to link that? Okay. Review bombing, as a phenomenon, is unsurprisingly directed against women and other minorities. Famously, fans of the original Ghostbusters... Oh, Jesus Christ. Can we just move on from fucking Ghostbusters, man? Franchise were so vocally antagonistic towards the director Paul's all-female 2016 reboot that it ended up impacting the film's box office performance. Whoa! It's almost like... Crazy. I'm gonna explain it for you. It's almost like when you take an existing franchise and then you get rid of everything that made that franchise good. People don't like that. And it's almost like people aren't legally obligated to go and pay for a movie ticket to something they think looks like fucking trash. Crazy. Rotten Tomatoes was forced to alter its rules following the review bombing of the 2019 MCU film Captain Marvel, which was targeted because of Brie Larson's political comments. It wasn't, I guess maybe this was just me. For me, I did not dislike her because she was, like, overtly political, because I feel that she really wasn't. It's that she was a bitch. It's that she was rude, and she was egotistical, and she was a narcissist, and it is that she constantly put down and belittled her male co-stars to try to prop herself up, which really is just the definition of current day feminism, right? More recently, the Disney movies The Little Mermaid and Snow White were similarly attacked online, with the majority of the hate being directed at stars Halle Bailey and Rachel Zegler. It's never, oh, someone like Rachel Zegler was disliked because she told people she hates the source material, she didn't care about it, they were changing it, and she was happy that was the case because the older movie was outdated. It's never actually admitting why people dislike these actors and actresses. Of course, they want to make it sound like, oh, it's clearly men hating on women because they only bring up female examples here. But this is why your outlets are dying. This is why nobody likes you. You and your outlet, because you're so irrelevant. Now, I don't know what else this person has written before. I guess we can take a peek. Let's see. Anything good? Oh, it looks like they're actually just somebody who simply is talking. Oh, Snow White stumbles past final global box office milestones after disastrous theatrical run. It's always the slightly positive spin. Oh yeah, it was a disastrous run, but hey, it stumbled past its final milestone. The Last of Us, okay, this is what I was looking for. Last of Us Season 2 review bombing sends Rotten Tomatoes audience score spiraling to a new low, which is the one that we just read. I think that this person had done another... The last... Is The Handmaid's Tale Season 6 being review bombed on Rotten Tomatoes like The Last of Us? It's always trying to form a connection when there isn't one. Is this show that is completely different, that's been going on for years, that doesn't have video game source material, is this being review bombed like The Last of Us? No, it's just the season is total trash. The Handmaid's Tale latest season is so bad. They basically pulled a Game of Thrones season 8 where they got rid of 5 other seasons worth of character development because they ran out of book material so that they could continue to make political statements, which this show, yes, is very political, but ultimately it was just really poorly written. It's not being review bombed. You toxic male gamers. I don't know how we can blame you for this, but we're gonna. Because there's a lead female character, we're gonna say that it's the same people. So stupid. These people are so brain dead. And, of course, who would have thunk it, guys? Ah, yes. The show's ratings have plummeted following Joel's demise. Who would have thunk it? Sadly, even though this was one of those rare instances where straying from the original might have actually helped, HBO ultimately chose to stick closely to the game's events, and now, much like the original, it's learning the hard way that despite Pedro Pascal and Bella Ramsey's presence, well, his presence for the 2 episodes that he was in, The Last of Us is no Game of Thrones and can't get away with the unceremonious killing of the first season's de facto protagonist. We said this years ago, and I guess I'll say it again. It wasn't the fact that he died, okay? We're all okay with characters dying. It's the way that he dies and the purpose that it serves. So like in Game of Thrones, right? Why does Ned's death work so well? To put it plainly, it worked so well because up until that point, the tension was building between the 2 houses. And then his death basically spiraled into a war, which does change the entire landscape of the entire story for every single character in some way, shape, or form. His death served a narrative purpose. Joel's didn't. Joel's was just, oh, we have to get rid of this male character so that we can make way for the 2 females That is the issue. It's not that we can't deal with our favorite characters or lead characters being killed off, and they just never understand that. Yeah, Ned's death in part was for him standing up for what he knew was true, and that's why we praised it, because he was a well-written character. His death made sense, and it wasn't just done because it felt like they had to do something drastic very quickly. It says, the scene in question, in case you've been living under a rock and somehow missed all things The Last of Us, is the infamous Joel gets beaten to death with a golf club sequence from the second game. I also think that it's funny that these people, again, if you're just a fan of the show, sorry, but I think that it is so incredibly funny that so many of the show-only viewers are so upset when really the death in the game was so much worse. It was so much worse. It was so much more graphic. It was so much more heartbreaking. In this, he just kind of dies. And what the fuck was up with the random flirting by Abby? Why is Abby flirting with Joel? That is what people should get locked up for. That is not okay. That was so cringe. That was so bad. I hated that with every fiber of my being. It's like, aha, we have Pedro Pascal. We better get a few jokes in for the ladies. She's like, nice muscles. You are handsome. It's like, what? Bro was probably confused on if he was going to get laid or killed. But clearly it's not just the toxic gamers that don't like this, because right now the user score over on Metacritic is sitting at a 3.9. That is pretty bad. What's the Last of Us game sitting at? A 5.8? I mean, yeah. As you can see, there are a lot more people who ended up showing up trying to rate it positively. It's not a 5.8, that's for sure. But hey, to each their own. I'm not sitting here saying it's toxic positive review bombers, because that would be stupid. There definitely were some people who wanted to try to tip the scale, but it's a rating on a platform, so it really doesn't bother me. And if you guys haven't seen the latest episode, spoiler alert. Oh, she got rejected. It all makes sense. They capture Joel, and he's like, if you're gonna kill me, just fucking kill me. And she's like, damn, you're sassy, and you've got big muscles. You are pretty handsome. It was really awkward. It was weird and creepy. But now, okay, let's put Joel's death aside for a second. Obviously, I don't think many people like that narrative decision. Let's think about the game for a minute. While I didn't like a lot of the choices they made, there was never dialogue this fucking cringe in The Last of Us Part 2. So, we're having a baby. Us and Jesse too. We're all having a baby. I'm going to be a dad. It's so bad. It's so bad. That's the glimmering response they had Ellie give. I'm gonna be a dad. Shut up. This is there's no criticism that I could levy towards this that would be harsh enough. It's so bad. All of the people behind this deserve to be fired. They really do. And I don't say that lightly. They really do. Did you people not play the game? It's not just a show, it has a source. Are you mad at the dad quote? Because I took the joke like that's Ellie's sense of humor. But if you're mad at them being lesbians, that's how the game is. And obviously I can't show it, but Dina and Ellie get it on this episode, which was also really fucking weird. Yeah, I don't, it didn't, none of it made sense. None of okay. You know what it feels like? It feels like Joel didn't die. And Ellie's just ignoring him because everything goes back to normal for her. She's like, "Hey, I'm gonna be a dad. Woo! Let's be scissor sisters." Like, it's so fucking forced and weird because they didn't want to write a coherent like story and her going through her grief or anything like that. It is what it is, and it's not good. I'm glad the normies are finally starting to understand why we are fighting so hard to get the woke garbage out of gaming now. See, this is the problem, is I don't think that the normies are going to see this as a bigger problem. They are only seeing it as a problem for the franchise they care about. It's like I talk about with censorship all the time. I get that one panty shot in a game being censored might not be that big of a deal, right? I'm not gonna shed any tears over it. Or, oh hey, this character's outfit, like Tifa for example, they added a little bit of black fabric over her chest, but censorship is a slippery slope, and one day it's gonna ruin one of your fucking favorite franchises. Don't look at me when you called me a gooner, but then you need somebody to help run defense for the franchise you care about. Because that's how these people act. It doesn't matter until it affects them. And then they care. But yeah, guys, The Last of Us it's a show. It's a show. This is ridiculous. This is so fucking stupid. Let's put aside any forced narratives and them having Ellie be like a lesbian, and let's put aside Joel being dead. Let's just look at this dialogue for a minute. This is fucking dumb. I'm gonna be a dad. No, you're not, idiot. You're not actually going to be a dad. It is what it is, though. And it's not good. Hit Arcade, thank you so much for the 279. Women can't be dads. Also, what's the joke? I'm still looking for it. If you ever find out what the joke is, let me know. Anyway, Joel in 1, guys. It's over. Still a few weeks of the show left, but the big moments come and gone. I can't wait for the end of the season to be here so we can see how much the viewership tanked, because I bet the viewership's going to tank a hell of a lot. I can't imagine many people actually sticking around to continue watching it. Like, sure, there are going to be people who generally agree with the narratives that are being pushed within it, and they're going to be like, well, artistic freedom and all that, which I do agree with, of course, but doesn't mean we have to like it. Oh, finally some patriarchy talk. Not yet. We'll talk about the patriarchy soon. I know you're all looking for your daily apologies to the women out there that you've wronged. Thunderbolts falls below initial opening weekend box office projections, becomes Marvel's lowest summer kickoff ever. I feel like I need to put on my tinfoil hat right now, because I feel like they knew that this was going to be a total fucking failure, but they wanted to release it so that, again, maybe they thought they could make money, I don't know. But it's like they wanted to release it so that when the Avengers movie finally comes out, Doomsday comes out, it looks better for them. But it's never good when a company like Disney is struggling this much, especially with all the tariff stuff that's going on, which I haven't really talked about, and I don't really plan to talk about because we don't have a lot of details. It's Trump basically just going, "Oh, I'm gonna put tariffs on movies, make movies in America again," which, like, sure, I generally agree with. Making as many products in the United States as possible is good, but we don't know how he's gonna implement that. We don't know what's gonna happen with that. So I don't really have any commentary to give. Either way, though, Disney's pretty fucked. Yeah. I mean, what, Avatar 4 is being... Just look at the next few big movies. Avatar 4 is being filmed there. Avengers is being filmed there. The Odyssey is being filmed there. There's another big one that's being filmed there, too. Those are the ones that come to the top of my head. Bad news, though. Bad news. Omega, thank you so much for the 5. Every time someone drops a super chat, Bilbo should get a tender pat. Well, he's sleeping, so if I do that, then he's just gonna run around. Bilbo. Hey. He's like, no, actually, I think you should leave me alone. But thank you so much for the 5. The official weekend box office numbers are in, and Thunderbolts has come in lower than initially projected, opening with 74.3 million domestically, below the 76 million projected early Monday morning. We also know that it, well, isn't looking good in general because the summer movie season has officially begun, and Marvel's is once again finding itself in an uncomfortable position of managing expectations because Thunderbolts, of course, earned 76 million, enough to claim the #1 spot, but not enough to escape comparisons to the studio's most notable misfires. I feel like we've gotten to a point when it comes to Marvel that I just don't really see a way at this point that they could fix all of the problems that they have. Like, obviously, an Avengers, Doomsday, or whatever they want to end up calling it, because a lot of people have speculated that they're going to change the name of it. Whatever the next Avengers movie is called, right? One would assume that that's going to make money. But I don't think it's going to make the money that, like, an Infinity War or an Endgame made. I just don't see a way that they can easily get themselves out of the situation, because even though they have, let's say, 2 movies a year that make $1 billion, right? They still need billions and billions more on top of that. And per project, they don't have a good win-to-loss ratio. That's for sure. It says, though, Variety and other Hollywood access media trade publications have been quick to frame the opening as a solid start. Of course they are, because half of them are still fucking paid by Disney. They're still paid to show. It says that the film currently holds an 88 critic with a 94% all audience rating and a 95 from verified users. Now, I say this every single time one of these movies comes out. The MCU has a dedicated fan base, right? And so the first people that are going to go and see it are MCU fans, are people who believe that they are going to love this piece of content. So it takes a few weeks for the, we'll just say, normies to actually take the time to watch it. So for things like Marvel and Disney films, I don't really take those initial audience scores all that seriously because they can change. But if they start out really bad, I don't think I can give you one example where the tides have turned, where it's gone from like a 50 to an 80 or a 90. Usually it starts solid at an 80 or 90 and then goes down as more normies see it. Right? Do we need a million Marvel films? I think that there are so many amazing Marvel characters that could be used, but the problem is that, first of all, they sign one actor and they want to keep them signed for several years because they want people to be able to recognize them. But it's like they are afraid of normies not getting it, not getting the point of these movies. So they're afraid to throw wild heroes into the mix because people will not get it or synergize with these characters. Endgame was the last good Marvel movie. The last big MCU movie that was really good. But there have been some others since then that have at least been okay. I, unfortunately, though, think that that's where the MCU died. For sure. There's been, like, the one-of movies that have been okay since then, but not, like, on a consistent basis. It says, though, in Marvel's post-Endgame era, strong reviews are no longer enough. The reality is that a $76 million opening on a film with a reported $180 million budget and an estimated $100 million marketing campaign is not a triumph. It's a warning. That seems low to me. Maybe they knew that this wasn't going to be a smashing success initially. I think you're overthinking it, Vera. They are just incompetent. I mean, maybe I am overthinking it, right? But at least one of us is overthinking it, because clearly the people over at Marvel aren't thinking about it at all. It says, though, in this chart that Deadpool and Wolverine was a major hit. Opening weekend was 211 million. Captain America Brave New World was a flop at 100 million. Thunderbolts is at 76 million, which is underperforming. Shang-Chi, does anybody still give a fuck about Shang-Chi? Well, none of these people really care about. 75 million, which was a moderate success given its budget. Eternals at 71 million, major underperformer. And the Marvels 2023 catastrophic flop. I think out of all of these, the Marvels was the worst. But I'd say the most disappointing for me was Eternals, because I didn't have any hope when it came to Captain America Brave New World. I didn't ever really care about Shang-Chi. Eternals, I had a little bit of hope for, but obviously we see what happened there. It talks about, though, how Thunderbolt slots right in the middle of the pack, not as devastating as the Marvels, but not far from it, and certainly far below the 100 million plus openings that used to be the norm for Marvel releases. Brave New World, which opened to 100 million, is still considered a financial disappointment after failing to gain traction in the weeks that followed. Its worldwide gross stands at 414 million, barely enough to scrape back its budget after theater cuts and international splits. It says if it follows the same trajectory as Eternals or Brave New World, it may put out somewhere between 400 and 500 million worldwide, a figure that would still leave it short or break even once marketing and revenue splits are factored in. Studios typically retain about 50 to 60% of domestic box office receipts and closer to 40% internationally, meaning a film like this likely needs 700 to 750 million globally just to cover costs, which, yeah, this is what happens when you take years to develop something and you have, you know, these massive marketing campaigns. I would say that this article is a little off, right? Because I wouldn't say that Brave New World, like, scraped by any means to make budgets back. But it also still, with the Captain America name, I'm sure internally kind of disappointed, right? Most of these movies now are considered disappointments internally, from what we understand. It says, though, the elephant of the room in the room is trust. Marvel has spent the last few years burning through audience goodwill with a relentless release schedule, uneven storytelling, and an increasingly complex continuity spread across both theatrical films and streaming shows. I think that a major problem we are facing now is that back when the MCU was kind of picking up, every movie felt like an individual experience, but now they don't. Like with the Iron Man movies, obviously you want to watch Iron Man 1 and then 2, and then you could throw an Avengers in there. It's cool, you understand what's going on, but you don't have to basically be committed to watching like 5 movies at once. Now you have to be committed to watching fucking 3 shows, 8 movies, a spin-off web series, and reading 8 articles about things that they retconned. You have to be actively paying attention to the MCU, which does not bode well for the kind of normie moviegoers that they've wanted to target over the years. Unfortunately for them, they are their worst enemy, because they are the ones who don't keep like writers and producers around for a long term. They pick one person for one project and move on to the next. And sure, I understand that as time goes on, people want more and more money, so you end up, you know, switching the team behind the scenes. But even with the actors, right, like Jeremy, he had just said, oh, they wanted me to return as Hawkeye, but they wanted to offer me half of what they did for the first season of the show. So why would I come back? Like, you need to find ways to keep actors around, and you also need to find ways to have those actors be good experiences to where people actually care about watching those other pieces of content. But if you expect people to watch those other pieces of content to understand a story, then it doesn't work. You have to expect people to only watch the one movie in a bubble, and then they might like it enough to go and spend dozens of other hours consuming the other content. And they've just shifted that mentality over the years. And so that is a major problem that they are facing now, at least in my opinion. Arcade, thank you so much for the $6.99. The MCU is culturally irrelevant now. Every genre goes through this. Superheroes won't ever go away, but this iteration of them is done and cooked. And the worst part about that is that I agree, but it didn't have to be done. It didn't have to be over. It didn't have to die this kind of painful death. I think if they, after Endgame, had stopped for a couple of years and then they came back with a mixture of the newer characters and older characters, they probably could have made something special. They probably could have continued it. But this is the issue with major companies now, is that they don't take the time to think out plans. They say to themselves, oh, well, we know that we want this one character to be around in 4 movies. Okay, well, then you can't technically kill them off, or if you kill them off, you have to have a way to bring them back. But they're not thinking about a full storyline before they actually put it out. And yeah, I mean, another major issue is just the tone of these movies, too. I get that they need to bring in a younger crowd, and with a younger crowd typically means bringing in younger actors or a new wave of actors, which clearly they've tried to do with like Kamala Khan and what's her name, Stephanie, Ant-Man's daughter, and all of these, you know, young female Avengers. Like, they thought that those were going to be characters that people were going to connect with, like Ironheart. So sure, you need to bring in younger actors to a certain extent, but also when you have this like awful humor, it first of all dates the movie, but second of all, you're pushing away that older audience that you already had, and to boot, they're not able to bring the newer audience in because even the newer audience finds it fucking cringe. Bad moves all around, and they get what they fucking deserve, right? Because I'd love for them to be making good content again. I'd love to see good Marvel. I think most people don't want Marvel to just fail, or do not want Disney to just fail. I don't want them to butcher these characters that we used to know and love, but they don't know why those characters were so special in the first place, and why audiences connected with those characters in the first place, or even how to replicate them. Cat? Yeah, Bilbo is here. He's sleeping on his chair. Comics were a glimpse into the fantastic that resonated with human nature. When the story became a glimpse into the mundane, well, Walmart After Dark is interesting. Yeah. What happened to the all-female Thunderbolts? I thought that was the reason they gender swapped and totally ruined the character of Ghost for that reason. What happened was the Marvels came out and everybody fucking hated it. They did all of those spin-off shows, and those all came out and everybody fucking hated them. And then they said to themselves, we need to make some kind of money on this. So let's actually put some men into this. Oh no, and then the She-Hulk and the twerking. Why did they think anybody was going to like that? Like, men that are watching the MCU don't think that that's fucking funny or like sexy. And then the women who are watching the MCU, like, they don't seem to give a fuck about She-Hulk twerking. I mean, I can only speak for myself, right? I'm just a fake gamer, fake moviegoer, fake Marvel fan. But that does not resonate with me. And I'm part of their target fucking audience. They have no respect for canon or lore. No, they haven't in years, though. I think that part of it is that the people that they're hiring don't care, but they also don't know it. And because they don't know it, why would they care? Bring back quizzes. Marvel needs to quiz people who want to work on their shit. They need to say, you know what? If you get 85 out of the 100 answers correct, you have the job. But these people don't. Because Marvel is too lazy to actually hire people who have been lifelong fans. And then the people themselves are being hired because they're easy to boss around. It's like with the Marvels, for example, right? Nia DaCosta. Nia DaCosta was a nobody. Or basically a nobody in Hollywood. So it was easy to boss her around. It's why with movies like The War of the Rohirrim, they don't bring someone back like Peter Jackson, or with the, well, he did kind of help on that, but with like the Rings of Power. The reason why they didn't bring someone like Peter Jackson back is because, first of all, it is pricey, but second of all, you're talking about somebody who actually knows what he's talking about, and he actually cares, and he's not gonna fucking be bossed around. But they want to boss people around who are just going to be on their hands and knees so grateful that they got this opportunity that, oh, it's fine if you have me completely rewrite the lore because at least this is going on my my resume. Marvel Rivals for the win. I feel like they didn't know Marvel Rivals was going to be such a big hit. And they haven't really taken that success very seriously. But if they were smart, they would realize it. If they were smart, they would see why it's successful, and they would go in that direction. Yeah, Peter Jackson was a producer on War of the Rohirrim, so it's not like he was a writer or the director or anything. We don't even really know what he did, except for apparently he was brought on in some capacity. Arcade, thank you so much for the 699. Steering into the Marvel Now era, which was heavy with woke nonsense, was a huge mistake. Comic book movies probably need a decade before coming back. I totally agree. I think that if they took the time to chill for a few years on all of these characters, it would do wonders for their image. Like with DC, I know that you had like Henry Cavill, who was really well loved, and Gal, who people generally liked at first, and then Ben Affleck, that I think people were much more skeptical about, and he was like the weakest link. But now, oh, they've thrown that to the side, and they're already starting back up with a new Superman, and we have another Batman going on. They need to chill. But I get it, right? They're afraid that if they stop for a couple of years, then any hype for superheroes would die down, and it would be a risk that they would have to take, but I think it would be a risk that would pay off if they just stopped for a couple of years. I've always said this, though. If they chilled for like 5 years on making the superhero shit, and then they came back with some good movies and some good content, it would be good. Batman 2 is apparently canceled. That is not confirmed at this point. We've heard rumors about it, but apparently it is still in the works, which is so infuriating because we have a good Batman, and the universe and the storyline that they were going with was really cool for him. I really like his villains. I thought the Riddler was really cool. Penguin was a good show, but they just can't get their shit together. I mean, we're already going on 3 years since the last one came out. It's not even written. And for the spin-offs, the Penguin was supposed to be in the year gap between part 1 and part 2. So it was supposed to be Batman comes out, they do the Penguin the year later, and then the year after that, the Batman 2 came out. They haven't even finished writing the Batman Part 2. Never mind filming it. So stupid. They went full Warner Brothers. Never go full Warner Brothers. Warner Brothers fucking sucks. I mean, even look at what Warner Brothers Games has been doing with, like, Monolith. You're telling me that one of the best systems that has been created in the video game industry in such a long time was just shelved, and you close Monolith Productions down? How brain dead do you have to be to make a decision like that? You have to be really special for that to happen, though. Ay, 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 ay. It gives me a headache thinking about it. We're never, ever, ever getting the Nemesis system back. I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about it. It's so infuriating. It was such a good system, too. And it was so underutilized. Warner Brothers hasn't been good since the 2010s. I think even the worst companies have their shining moments where they do okay. But in general, yeah, they've been bad for a long time. Nemesis was only in 2 games, and it was one of the best systems ever created. It was. It might not have been around for long, but it was around for long enough. It's like with Joker. Don't get me started on the Joker fucking 2. Joker 1 was great. It was phenomenal. It was amazing. And then Joker 2 came out. They should have shelved it. It would have been better. Instead of putting $500 million into Joaquin Phoenix's fucking dream. That was stupid. He's a good actor, but, well, never give an actor hundreds of millions of dollars to make a movie because he saw it in a dream. Do not. Trace, thank you for the 10. They spent far too much time in Marvel and DC putting in things from alternate timelines instead of just giving us what we actually want to see and waste perfect castings on stuff. 100%. It's like with Eternals. I thought a lot of the actors that were in Eternals were actually pretty decent. Unfortunately, though, they were in the Eternals. And, well, that went to shit. Henry Cavill. I thought Gal was pretty good at first. I didn't hate Ben. We see how that went. Thank you so much for the 10, though. Much appreciated. Thank you, thank you. Can you fucking chuds stop whitewashing characters, please? Guys, listen, okay? Listen, guys. I'm going blind from the whitewashing that I was getting. If you guys could stop modding your copies of your fucking games, that would be great. Stop modding. It's okay if you want to mod in LGBT content. It's fine if you want to mod in trans flags. It's not okay if you want to mod the way that a female character looks. Claire Obscure Expedition 33 has been lauded for many things, one of which is its characters. Everybody who is part of the Expedition 33 team, and almost every other character in Lumiere for that matter, has been designed and characterized in such a way that it's impossible not to care about them. However, much like those who felt the need to make Monster Hunter Wilds Alma more attractive, there is a section of the Claire Obscure audience who can't leave characters alone, with one new mod whitewashing one of the Expedition 33 party characters. Oh my fucking god, guys. I can't believe you would put up a single mod to change the appearance of this character. How could you? How could you put up one single mod? That's unacceptable. We gotta write a whole fucking article on this. We got to. We gotta write a whole article for our 200 viewers. It says Seal is the fourth member of the Expedition 33 team you meet in Claire Obscure. Following Gustave, Maëlle, and Lene, she's an olive-skinned teacher who has a great love for her students and a strong hatred for the Paintress. Given the situation, she can enjoy a laugh, but for some reason, players have taken offense to the color of her skin. It's nice that they actually shared an image of it, guys. It's really nice that they provided us with the much needed context we needed. It's very nice that they did that. So stupid. If you're gonna at least write an article, provide an image. You know what I mean? A new mod on Nexus Mods. Has it been taken down? It hasn't. Guys, she looks no fucking different. I'm sorry. She looks like no different. If you are that offended that somebody put this mod up, I think you're the problem. I think you're the problem. Because she basically looks no different. Like, I guess she looks slightly lighter. We just have to pump out an article today, though, about how gamers have ruined society, though. Guys, a single mod. I always think that this is funny because these people, what they do is they say it's not that big of a deal, and then they go and they give something so much more attention. If you're saying that people are trolls and they're bigots, but it only had 1,000 downloads, why are you writing a whole article on it? It really just goes to show how fucking irrelevant the gamer is, though, because at the time of writing this, it had 1,000 downloads. Now it's at 2,600. So only 1,600 people extra found this mod. It just shows that the gamer really has nobody reading them these days. It's called Lighter Skin and makes the character's body texture less tanned. It's another example of the wholly unnecessary mod altering a team's artistic vision for their characters. Where are the articles talking about how you can make characters gay in certain games? Where are the complaints about mods where you can make characters black in games? If you don't support at all whatsoever the altering of the team's artistic visions, you have to call it all out. Now, it's like I always say in my videos, and my live streams, mod the game the way you want. The only mods I don't support are ones that are teetering on illegal content, right? If you're trying to put someone's real face into a game, and it's clearly so the character can have something bad done to them or something. Okay, that I understand them potentially putting up an argument for, right? We're talking about a fictional character here, though, who isn't supposed to resemble anyone in the real world. So what is the problem with somebody just making her skin tone slightly lighter in a single player game? Nobody else is ever going to see this version of the character. Nobody has to download this mod. They just want to find a way to attack us, which it's just another day that ends in a Y for the mainstream media, but still. Trace, thank you for the 5. Imagine being so soft that you don't understand that mods are optional, that you could totally ignore the ones you don't like or agree with. You'd think it would just be that simple and that these people would know that. And if they say that the content is so bad and so offensive, why are they giving attention to it? Because all you are doing is you are ultimately giving the trolls more attention. The best way to ignore the trolls is to not feed them. Weird. While the mod has seen a hefty number of downloads, it's not been received well by all, with some comments calling out its creator. The callouts have gotten so bad that they've added a comment to the upload saying, "You love tanned girls, I get it, no need to shout about it here." Yeah, there isn't a need to shout about it, because if you don't like this, you don't have to download it. If you like the way that Seal looks, you can just ignore this mod. You do not have to use it. And it shouldn't be a problem that somebody else wants to edit their version of their game. Stop liking what I don't like. Yeah, exactly. It says, but while some comments have called the creator out, others have leaned fully into its racial implications, calling it based. I love the clickable link to actually show a single screenshot. I love this. Not that that would be wrong, by the way, because, again, if you want to edit the version of this fictional character in your copy of a game, you go for it. And asking for a version where the character has blonde hair and blue eyes. There are also calls to yassify the character more, with players asking for the modder to remove her freckles and scar across her nose, all of which are defining features for her. Listen. I know that there are people in the gaming industry who have not been able to cope with the fact that people hate the way that new Aloy looks, and that they wanted to make her more beautiful, and they dared to add makeup to her face. I know that they're really offended by the fact that people love to add makeup to Ellie in The Last of Us Part 2 to make her look more attractive. I know there's people in the mainstream industry who are really upset with the fact that people would dare to edit the female characters in their games. But you know what's funny is, as a woman myself, I don't give a fuck. Why the fuck should I care what you are doing to the female characters in your game? That doesn't mean that you objectify all women. That doesn't mean that you think all women are evil or ugly or malicious or anything that could be construed as misogynist or sexist. And let's keep it a buck. Even if you do objectify fictional characters, number one, they're already objects because they're fictional. But second of all, isn't that how humanity continues to be a thing? Is finding people attractive or not attractive? Why is that seen as such a bad thing? That somebody would dare to have a preference. Oh, it's okay, by the way, that you have a preference for women when you're a woman, but it's not okay that a man has a preference for a female that looks pretty? I don't get it. I don't get it. Because ultimately, if a woman didn't want to dress a certain way or look a certain way, she doesn't have to. So why is it a bad thing that somebody is simply talking about what they prefer in a fictional character? That's so dumb. And whoopee-doo. Somebody put up a mod for a character. It's one single mod. We're not talking about somebody who put up a mod to try to... I don't know. It's the gamer, right? What do you want from them? Except for bullshit. Because that's all that they really have to provide to people. Is just BS. Have they put up anything else that's new today? Let's take a look. I love scrolling the gamer. Oh my... If I see the word Veilguard one more time in this life, I'm gonna seppuku. We were getting no support from BioWare or EA. The Dragon Age team felt left behind after Inquisition. Mark Dara has claimed that Dragon Age has been lacking support ever since the release of Inquisition. Developers were regularly moved from their Dragon Age team to help ship other games, then quit. You know what you do? You pull an Expedition 33. You quit that fucking company. You go and start another company with your fellow developers. You go and make something that is similar to Dragon Age. You prove those bitches wrong. But you didn't. In the end, he claims that the trust between him, BioWare, and EA was severely damaged during this time, and that BioWare we loved was digested by EA's overall culture. It's a return to form, guys. How many times do you think they're going to drop that here? I have nothing against Mark Dara, but months ago in February, when he had complained about how people were being meanies to the developers, I stopped caring about what he said. Because he didn't accept the fact that people are just sick and tired of the state of the industry, and he said we needed to be nicer to the developers. Sure, we shouldn't be harassing developers. I didn't really see anybody getting harassed. I just saw people criticizing, and criticism is not harassment. But I can't really take somebody seriously when all he really wanted to do was continue to be relevant in the industry, while not actually wanting the industry to get better. He just wanted to ride the wave so that he could fit in, so that he could keep getting jobs. Pepper, thank you so much for the 5. Leftoid men are intimidated by attractive women. Leftoid women feel threatened by them, so they come together to remove them at any opportunity. True. Retards and retards. Shaking hands. Trying to control other people because they're so insecure. True and real. I'm betting Mark is another feminist. Listen, I'm not here to say if what somebody is or what somebody isn't, but you're not that far off. Ay. Let's see what else. The Gamer. This is fake news. Fake news. They're putting up fake news. Did they issue a clarification? No, it is fake news. It is not actually real. This is fake news, guys. This is fake news. When did they put up this article? 7 hours ago. Did they issue a clarification? No. Fake news. Wrong. You're trash. Let's continue. If you don't like The Last of Us show, it's time to replay the game. How about we don't? How about we leave the game in the past? We leave this show in the trash where it belongs. Let's forget it exists. Hypernauts, thank you so much for the 10. You aren't allowed to have your own freedoms or experiences. How dare you not play your games that you paid for the way that we tell you to? Therefore, we must shame you at all costs. Yeah, that's how these people act. Thank you for the 10. And Cabal, thank you for the 5. I'm not buying this excuse. Veilguard had everything these weirdos wanted in a game. It's not EA's fault they made a bad game. EA's a shitty company, right? Going back to that real quick. EA is a shitty company. I'm not sitting here defending EA. But on the flip side, these people were given a decade to make a game. They were given hundreds of millions of dollars to make a game. You are not convincing me that that is being left behind. You know what is being left behind? Is having your studio shut down one day. You going into work and everybody being told there's a meeting and then like, hey, you all got fired today. That is being left behind. Not getting 10 years, hundreds of millions of dollars, and so many opportunities to make the game that you could. And sure, there are higher ups at studios who meddle and who alter the direction a game could be heading in. Like, oh, hey, we see that this trend is up in the industry. Like, I don't know, adding a strong independent woman as a lead. But it is your job as a writer and a developer to create a cohesive story, a good story. And if you are good at your job, you can do that. So I'm not buying this bullshit. EA might have abandoned them to a certain extent. EA might have said, you guys fucking suck at your jobs. But how much more do you want? Hundreds of millions of dollars, a decade to make a game. Like, you can't ask for anything more. It's not our fault that you created trash, that you created a game that people ultimately didn't want to play. Overwatch 2 just became the king of hero shooters all over again, anything. But actually acknowledge the games that are doing half decent right now, like Marvel Rivals. I wanted to see if they put up anything else that was spicy. And yes, this Elden Ring film is fake news. It is not happening. Apparently. Also, Goal, thank you guys so much for the donations. I appreciate it. But I don't really see anything else that they've put up today that is interesting. Because, well, all they're doing is repeating the same shit over and over. Like, who cares about Lorcana? Does anybody care about that game? I don't think so. No wonder you guys are not getting the clicks and the views that you need. Like, you're just putting up trash. Nobody likes this. Nobody cares about this. Who cares about Squishmallows? Barra needs to finish first Berserker Kazan first. I'll be finishing Kazan between Thursday and Saturday, probably. Can we play Days Gone next? No, I'm not going to stream Days Gone. I know the remastered came out, but I'm not streaming that. Next week, we're going to be playing Doom, which is the next big launch, which I'm very excited for. I'll probably be streaming that Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, because early access starts on Monday. What on earth is Lorcana? It is a card game. It's a card game. Because that's exactly... I'm not saying nobody cares about card games. I'm also saying that you could maybe, I don't know, focus on putting up articles people actually want to read. Anyway, we're just yapping now. We're just yapping. We're just yapping. Trashing them. Oh, this is one that I thought was really funny. Thought this would be a good quick hit. Assassin's Creed Shadows consultant says Asian men living in the West were more outraged about Ubisoft title than people living in Japan. I don't think so. Did they do no research on social media regarding this game? Because the Japanese government was fucking furious over this. Ubisoft literally had to patch out defacing religious sites because the government was threatening a ban. I think that there were people in Japan who were pretty pissed off about this. But guys, it's just the Western chuds that are so upset about it. Definitely not real Japanese people living in Japan. They didn't care about this. Surely. Yeah, guys, because there's definitely not evidence that points to the opposite online. Walker, thank you so much for the 2. Does Ninja Gaiden 4 come out in June? I do not know. Wouldn't be able to tell you off the top of my head. June seems like it's going to be a pretty decent month for games. Better than May. May's got Doom and Night Rain, which are going to be good, but Night Rain's the last day of the month. I thought that this was very funny. Always trying to push some sort of narrative that gamers in the West are the problem. It's you guys. You're the issue. And if you didn't know who this individual was, they are the one who wrote, let me find the name of it. Oh yeah. Tales of idolized boys, male on male love in medieval Japanese Buddhist narratives. Exactly what I'm fascinated in. Truly. I could not be more fascinated. Jesus Christ. Anyway, let's go to talking about the patriarchy. I love it. I love it. Woo, the patriarchy. Oh my god. Guys, I'm not reading this whole entire thing. This article is 50 miles long. Before anybody asks about why I'm not going to take the time and all of the effort to read this entire article, why am I being such a bigot? Why am I not listening to women and what their opinions are? Why am I not listening to the awesome arguments they're making about the gender pay gap in the gaming industry? It's because, well, I've just got to be honest, I don't give a fuck. Hope that helps. This is ridiculous. It's never that serious. You know when you pick up like a 1,500 word book and you're like, this is insane? This is insane. I found this article. I don't even know how I found it, but I found it and I was like, this has got to be old. There's no way that this is new. It is. It's from 2 weeks ago. It's from April 29th. They talk about black girl gamers and take this, and they talk about Zoe Quinn. I feel like I'm living in a clown world. By the way, in case any of you want to go and look at this site yourselves, because I know that this is such a fascinating topic for you. It's called breakingdownthepatriarchy.com. How many YouTube subscribers do they have? 38K, 77 videos? Holy shit, this is insane. What have they been talking about? Do you not like sex, or do you just not like patriarchal sex? I'm done. What the fuck are you yapping about, brother? What are you talking about? Excuse me? Why women of color are exhausted. Did 1960s feminists actually burn bras? How about we just copy and paste that into Chat GPT? Do women have equal rights yet? Do we really need to ask this question? Do we seriously need to ask this question? Anyway, let's get back to the article because it's riveting stuff. We're not reading this whole thing. We're not. I don't have the mental capacity to. But we'll look at some of it. It says Ashley Rule is a narrative director, narrative designer, cinematic designer, and writer exclusively in games. Over the past 13 years, she has focused on a multi-prong approach of character-driven narrative, eye-catching cinematics, and intuitive game design. She was the first woman at Telltale to hold the title of episodic director and assistant episodic director, credited for episode 3 and episode 1 of Tales from the Borderlands, respectively. Didn't everybody hate Tales from the Borderlands? And was selected for Forbes 30 Under 30 list in video games in 2016. She focuses on cinematic delivery and strong emotional agency in game narrative, creating memorable moments that encourage players to be authors of their own stories. Wow. Guys, I'm getting a fucking headache from this. Holy shit, can we turn the colors down, guys? We don't need pinks and greens. This is disgusting. It's turning me pink. Violet, you're turning violet. Ay. We're gonna be here forever. I'd like to start today's episode by asking you to imagine a person who plays video games. If the person you're imagining is, in your mind, anything like the popular representation of gamers, they're probably young, a teenager, maybe pale, geeky, maybe hiding in a basement, and of course you would probably imagine them male. I didn't. What is with this, like, outdated image that you're trying to present to people? And yet this lingering stereotype is quickly becoming outdated, as gaming today is far from niche or nerdy, with over 3 billion gamers worldwide and a rapidly closing gender gap. As of just last year, 46% of video game players worldwide were women. Where's their study? Can I just say, I know that these are commonly touted figures, but I'm not giving these people the benefit of the doubt. Show me the sources or shut the fuck up. Okay? I don't care if it's commonly cited or not. You need to provide the studies that you are talking about if you want me to take you seriously. I could say, guys, you know what I found out today? 89% of the gaming industry is back to male. I don't have to provide a figure for you. I don't have to provide evidence. You have a whole entire website that's called Breaking Down the Patriarchy. That would mean that you are breaking down narratives you have deemed false. To break down means you have to have evidence to use to chisel away at the things you are saying are false. Or in some cases true, right? What are you talking about? As of last year, 46% of video game players worldwide were women, and that percentage is only increasing. According to Women in Games, a nonprofit dedicated to women in gaming and esports among the top 15 game companies, their executive teams on average were 84% male. Just a few weeks ago, I had talked about Women in Games because they were the organization that was demanding Valve ban that pornography game. I guess we'll describe it as, right? The game with very questionable settings, in questionable character actions, no mercy. For me, as a woman, I am not brain dead, so I know that that does not equate to violence against women in the real world. It is a video game, but these people demanded that Valve ban it and remove it from their platform, and these are also a group of people, where it is an organization that companies give lots of money to. Back in 2021, Blizzard actually gave them $1 million. So you can see what they're doing for the industry, just sopping up the cash. If this weren't enough, research also indicates that female characters are overly sexualized and often shunted into secondary roles within the games themselves. What research? Research indicates that they're overly sexualized. Says who? If you're going to cite research, link the research. Come on. And these sexist tendencies unfortunately reflect the gaming community as well, with the 2023 study finding that nearly 75% of women report harassment when playing games online. Where is the... You know what? I'm just gonna say it one more time. If you want me to take you seriously, you need to link research. I am a woman of science and statistics. And if you are not going to do that, I am not going to give you the benefit of the doubt. They could be making a point here, but I am instantly going to discard it because it is not my job to put up an article and research what you are saying. It is your job to put up an article and research and link. It is your job to convince me that this is the truth or to prove that this is the truth. It is not my job to do your job for you. So, L plus ratio, opinion discarded. It talks about Ashley, though, and about what she's done for the industry. She talks about how she's cared about video games for a long time. Maybe she does, and that's really cool. She's been in the gaming industry for a little while. But ultimately, when you're going into articles like this, you're really only causing harm to the industry. You're not really helping it. Even then in college, it was very difficult for me to feel like I was quote-unquote a gamer. There was definitely a gender gap there, and I struggled a bit to feel like I belonged in that space, but it was something that just, you know, when it grabs onto you and you just feel like you want to push through it because it's important to you, you just kind of stick with it. Now, I've talked about it. I didn't go to school my whole life. I was homeschooled after the 5th grade. So, true. Maybe I don't know how hard it is out there for a woman in college. Bro, you're a fucking adult. Whatever. A woman in college. Some, I don't know, 15 years ago maybe. To be able to connect with other people and identify as a gamer. You know what's funny is you don't have to always identify as something. You could just be that something. You could just be like, yeah, I'm a gamer. You don't need to talk about how, oh, you identified with this group, but you weren't really sure how to fit in, and everybody was being mean to you about it, and there's a gender gap, so you struggled to feel like you belonged in that space. Why? You're talking about in college. We're not talking about, like, an 8-year-old who has just discovered video games for the first time and they're trying to hang out with 15-year-olds who have known video games for 5 years. That would be a little different, I think, because that would just be, you know, an individual not getting along with a certain group of people. We're talking about adults here. Anyway, and when I graduated school with an animation degree, I was originally again looking for animation jobs, but then I fell into the world of cinematic design. She talks about how the game she's actually currently working on was originally launched in 2011, so it's been around for a very long time. Does she say what game that is? Oh my god. I didn't even see this. I'm gonna kill myself in GTA. She's working on Star Wars The Old Republic. Oh my god, my account's banned. Guys, I gotta stop talking about this. My account's banned now. You know what's sad? Is that people like her always want to play the victim instead of actually just be themselves. I don't sit here and play the victim all the time. I'm just talking about things I feel passionately about, giving my opinion on things I feel passionately about. I'm not trying to fit in with a certain group. I'm not trying to get in with a certain subsection of gamers. I think that's stupid. I'm just here to talk and be a gamer. And why does she have to play the victim? Why does everybody always have to be a victim? Because they think it's going to get them power and control and attention? Yeah, I guess for like 5 seconds it gets you attention, but that's about it. Albatross, thank you for the 5. If the games industry is so ruthless and misogynistic, then why do all these gaming writers claim to love it? Why attach yourself to something so bad? It's like with reboots and remakes, right? How they have over the years used H.P. Lovecraft's work. Oh, H.P. Lovecraft was a terrible, toxic, disgusting human being, but let's rewrite his work and let's profit off of the creation he made. It's because it boils down to money. Because they think they can make more money. Now, if these people were actually talented at their job, if they were good at what they did, they wouldn't need to take another person's creation, even if they've deemed it bad and they've deemed that person toxic. Because they'd be able to create a competitor. It's like Harry Potter. J.K. Rowling, so toxic. Okay, then make a wizarding world yourself. It shouldn't be that hard, right? So dumb. Tell us a little bit about what you actually do as a narrative director. I oversee basically anything that is narrative within the game, and that involves reviewing the writing, reviewing the cinematics. Our team is full of implementers too. All of our directors are also implementers, so I'm also building cinematics. There are people who have always done narrative work in entertainment, but the problem that I have here is that she talks about how narrative groups are good, like Black Girl Gamers, which is crazy. Where do we even want to go? Where do we even want to go in here? She talks about how I think it definitely comes down to personality, and I think that we can see from historical that we... Hold on. I think it definitely comes down to personality, and I think that we can see from historical, and by the way, other games have been developed. Does she mean history or historical examples? Okay. That it can lean in one direction or another depending on gender more stereotypically. But for me, I think it's if you can lead with empathy and inclusion where you're trying to make sure that all voices are heard and everyone is contributing to a bigger picture, that's where I think the strongest product comes from. I think that that does lead more into a matriarchal view of things versus a patriarchal. My perspective on a matriarchal society is not just that women are in charge, but that we lift up the weakest among us, or the people who need the most, so that we are all on even footing. We are a circle. The power of one, the power of two, the power of many. Shut up. This is so stupid. You might as well just call yourselves a coven at this point and get your fucking lightsabers out. There are definitely some games that have been more savants or creative leads that say, this is my vision, everyone execute on my vision, and we celebrate those people and we lift them up. But it's not always the full picture. You know, for me, my approach is much more about trying to get the most out of my teams by inviting them to the table and saying, here is the rubric, here is our outline to play the space to play, and I want to see what you bring to it. I'm also a band kid. What are you not? Do we have to get your entire life backstory here? I am a band kid. I am a woman. I am a gamer. I'm a narrative director. We understand that, sister. You are a real living person who has done things in their life. That's cool, but why do we have to hear about that? Why? I don't think that we should. Ay. This also ties into the part of gamer culture as well, the gatekeeping and the like to prove to me why you belong in our circle. For me, that is so deeply imprinted in my brain that I'm just trying to make sure that everybody knows that they are welcome. And I want to make sure that I can do what I can to make them feel comfortable and empowered in these spaces. You know what the reviewer's response was, guys? That's awesome. It's the most, okay, comment I could ever read on a fucking screen. Okay. Jesus. Let's talk about gender equity in gaming. I'm curious if you have any personal experiences of what it's been like to be a woman in this historically male-dominated field. And then if you can talk about any trends you're noticing or data you'd like to share with us. Yeah, so like I mentioned, I was in college. Oh my God, how many times do we have to hear about college, man? I think it was harder to be a woman in the gaming spaces because of a couple of factors. It was this choice I had to make of things that I'm like, well, do I want to take the energy to call this out because it's annoying me or because I don't think it's fair? Or do I want to stay silent and let it slowly eat me away on the inside? And both of them have been negative things to result in. For me personally, I remember, so I went to college between 06 and 10, and I feel like games in general have gotten better with gender representation, but I also know that the treatment of women in gaming spaces has not changed that much as I liked it to. Oh my gosh. Which really bums me out. What do you want? What do you want? That's the real question. Because the change that has happened in the gaming industry is not enough. See, this is the issue with activists, is that they could complain about X, Y, and Z. Let's say we get rid of X, and then only Y and Z remain. Y and Z will be pushed up to X and Y, and then they'll tack on another Z. They constantly have something new to complain about. They're constantly shifting goalposts. It's at first, oh, the gaming industry's got much more inclusive. But by the way, guys, the gaming industry still isn't as inclusive as I've wanted it to be. Can you just maybe like make up your mind? It's never enough with these people. It's over 10 years ago, but well, sister, you went to school in 06? It was a little bit longer than 10 years ago, honey. But I remember there would be times where I'd call out, like, why do all the female characters have to have midriffs? Why do all of them have to be, you know, super sexualized? It is okay if you don't want to play as these types of characters, but it is not okay that you want to take the opportunity to play as those characters away from everybody. And that's what these types of people just don't fathom, that people want things differently than they do. They want everything to be the way they want it to be, or else they don't want it to be able to exist at all. They want to take things away from you because you don't agree with them. I've seen the shift, and I have seen as the industry has matured, we have more of a range of representation for femme characters and masculine characters, which is super cool. There are still some things that hold very true, like Call of Duty is going to be very Call of Duty, but we've also seen a lot more female soldiers in those games that don't have to be sexualized or have a completely different cut on their fatigues, you know? I've also reflected that this is part of my personal growth through all of this. She mentions herself 41 times. Anyway, where was I? I've also reflected, and this is part of my personal growth, is what I'm calling a recovering cool girl. Wherever I was the girl who could hang with the guys, and so I was repressing a lot of who I was, my gender identity, because I wanted to fit in. And so I hated the color pink, and I was so upset by anything that was even suggesting that women could be sensual even. And now I feel like I flipped most of the opposite direction. Okay, listen. You need a counselor. You need a therapist, not an interview. You really do. That's really interesting, yeah. I was a total pick-me girl too for a while, and I think it's really common to go through that phase in life, partly because I think just psychologically you've sensed from the time you're little, like, those are the people who have the power in the room. Those are the people who can keep me safe physically or in my career. Integrating yourself with that power totally makes sense. To keep ourselves safe, right? To be like, oh yeah, I can hang with it. What? Are they just mad that they weren't picked? Is that the whole entire point of this? I was a pick-me once, but I didn't get picked. So now I am gonna go around trying to ruin this industry. Seems pretty weird. Okay, here we go. I love Gamergate, guys. Okay, I'm not looking at the screen. I have not read this yet. Gamergate was about ethics in video game journalism. I bet that they say that Gamergate was a harassment campaign, because that's what the new feminist definition of it was. Oh, so I've heard of it, but actually... Oh, wait, let's go back a little. So there's been a lot. I'm not a huge expert in these fields, but I can talk kind of broadly of how the industry has evolved. Are you aware of the Gamergate movement? Oh yeah, I've heard of it, but I actually wouldn't be able to describe it. Yeah, guys. I love The Last of Us Part 2. I give it a 10 out of 10. I wouldn't be able to describe it, though. Don't you think that if you're going into an interview to talk about gender inequality in the gaming industry and the things you feel are a problem in the industry, that you would have a general outlook of what the industry has been, and something as important as Gamergate? I've heard of it, but I wouldn't actually be able to describe it, guys. So Gamergate started in 2014, and it was one of the first doxing campaigns. Wow, who'd thunk it? It was the internet majority men targeting marginalized women, women of color, and trans women and cis women, basically saying you don't belong here and making a very concerted effort to push people out of the industry and push them off the internet. You know what I think is funny? Is that in 2025, I, as a woman on the internet who would say I'm a part of Gamergate 2, has been targeted and attacked by left-leaning individuals who have said, you're a pick-me, you should delete your YouTube channel and leave the industry. So you're saying that in 2014, Gamergate 1 was a harassment campaign, and so you want to sit here and call it out, but you're not going to call out the people on your own side in 2025 doing the same thing to another person because you don't agree with that woman politically. I thought it was just about protecting women. So if it was about protecting women, then why aren't you trying to protect women? Because it's not a woman you agree with. You see, this is the problem, is that it's always, oh no, this bad thing is happening that affects me, but I don't give a fuck when it affects you. It's the problem with modern day feminism, because feminists, you know, in the West, they're worried about, oh no, I'm not being represented properly in my movie, instead of actually worrying about real women who are going through bad situations in the real world, in other places in the world, because it's not right in front of their face, so they don't actually care about talking about it. It, of course, was not men targeting women in the industry saying you don't belong here. It was about ethics in video game journalism. And it's like I have to talk about all the time. In the gaming industry, it is becoming more diverse than ever. If you have, let's say for argument's sake, 55 games a year out of 100 that are coming out that feature women or people of color, not every single one of those is going to be positively received. Therefore, if we criticize those 55, or any of them, even one of them, oh, well, it gives more of an opportunity for them to call us ists and phobes. So you want more representation, but you don't want any sort of product that has representation to be criticized. And if we do criticize it, then you say we're all sexist or racists or bigots. It's just the natural progression of things. If you put more representation in, more representation is going to be criticized. So if you are a woman in the gaming industry who is very vocal and who has a dumb take, it's not sexist to call you out. It's just a human calling out another human for their dumb take. It's not targeted harassment, and criticism is not harassment. It was really a scary time, and at the time I was still a minority within development spaces in the studio I worked in, so I just got very used to being the only woman in the room. It was not something that was uncommon for me. When I was in high school, I was a drummer. In high school, I was a drummer. I was one of the few women on my wrestling team in middle school. I just got used to it. I was like, this is normal. I don't recognize that I am the only woman here. Other people will see me in a certain way, but I don't see that. I don't see that I am a gender minority here. And so when Gamergate came around, I was definitely freaked out. But personally, I did not feel as threatened. I knew a lot of people that I care about were, but that was scary because at the time, I did not know many women in game development. We were isolated. We didn't have a lot of connective tissue, or at least for me coming into the industry when I did. And I feel like Gamergate highlighted that there are a lot of women in the industry, even for the people who say, oh, there were just a couple of them. We have to dispel this fucking bullshit again. I'm not going to sit here and talk about it all, but women have always been part of the video game industry. Even going as far back to, Roberta Williams. Women have always been part of the video game industry, and it is time we stop fucking acting like they haven't. Just saying. Montesquieu, thank you so much for the 11. Dutch journalists were threatened with legal action for running the fake news Wikipedia article, after which they were quickly rectified, just saying, yeah. Because it's not the true definition of what Gamergate was. Wikipedia can be edited, and, well, journalists should actually get called out when they're doing bad fucking journalism. Unfortunately, that just doesn't happen in the video game industry really anymore, unless it comes to content creators like myself, because one journalist is not going to call out another journalist. Even though if they did that, it would make them look significantly better, because they'd actually look like they were not trying to just protect their own. But regardless, that's a complete other rant that I'd be on for like a million hours. And I feel like Gamergate highlighted that there were a lot of women in the industry, even for, guys, this pink is giving me a fucking headache. I cannot look at this Pepto-Bismol screen anymore. And there was a bit of women coming together after Gamergate to really say, no, we are here, we do belong. And that kind of formed a lot of communities that I still have of women in the industry that we can all rally together and go, no, that is weird. That is a weird thing. We shouldn't be dealing with that. They talk about Riot and the way that women were treated, the way the C-suite treated women employees and that kind of thing. I always think it's funny when individuals, journalists, bring up things like Riot being accused of toxicity in a workplace or Blizzard being accused of sexism, yet they never bring up the fact that Jason Schreier held information for, I think it was like 5 years or 6 years, in order to sell and publish a book with that information. I always think that that's very telling, that they don't bring up the fact that somebody directly profited off of these women and individuals' trauma. But it's okay, guys, because Jason Schreier's a hashtag ally. And slowly culture change happened. Slowly over time, the bro culture of studios started to fade away. And now we look back and go, oh, in the 2010s, there were executives having pool parties with women they hired in bikinis or booth babes. Now, obviously, taking advantage of people is bad. But we are talking about grown adults. If a grown adult wants to go to a pool party at their work, and a grown woman feels like maybe if I put on this bikini, I'll get a raise, and she chooses to do that, she can do that. I'm not saying that it's employees or Blizzard executives or Riot executives or any executives could take advantage of people, but we're talking about adults choosing to do adult things. Just saying. Again, not that that makes it like any better. Of course, if you're being harassed in a workplace, that is fucking bad. But it's just been very suspicious that there have been multiple people who have said, oh, I was harassed in a workplace, but they don't come out for a decade saying it. Why did you not come out earlier and talk about it? They're just women that dressed in scantily clad outfits, and they put them in front of booths to drive people to those booths at conventions and exposés and things like that, and they got paid for it. We're not talking about slave labor here. We just brought this woman across the fucking sea in a boat in chains, and we're forcing her to stand at this gaming expo. We're talking about someone who got paid to put on a bikini. It was her choice. She didn't have to if she did not want to. These people constantly want to push the tired narrative that they were forced to, that they felt uncomfortable with doing it, but they did it anyway. They didn't have to do it. You are an adult making adult decisions. Weird, weird, weird. So I think we owe it to a lot of women who started speaking up and started organizing and finding a lot of other people to group together and say these things to make the industry better. I still think there's definitely some gender bias in some level. Like you mentioned at the top, the executive level is still predominantly men. We have a lot more women in junior roles and mid-level roles, but when you get to manager, director, C-suite, there's fewer women there. So there's definitely still an imbalance, of course, blah, blah, blah. There's always a problem. We can never be happy with the fact that, hey, we feel that there's actually progress being made in the industry, and that's a step in a good direction. It's always, no, we need more, and we need more now. The pink is really blinding. I'm getting a headache from this pink screen. Guys, when I start the Dark Titan Media website up again, it's gonna have a disgusting Pepto-Bismol pink screen like this. That's exactly what you guys want, I know it. That's really great. I feel like I was going to ask you too, and you already kind of answered this, but it seems like Gamergate was happening around the same time as the Me Too movement. This person really actually knows fucking nothing. This person actually knows nothing about Gamergate. Do they know much about the Me Too movement and how the Me Too movement affected the video game industry? She literally just talked about it, about women coming forward with accusations. Even just this morning, actually, on things that used to be completely normal, like stuff that boys would say to me just in the hall when I was in high school, for example. I've told my kids things that I used to hear in the hall, and they're like, what? That is such an egregious sexual harassment. How old are your kids, huh? How old are these kids you're talking about? Egregious sexual harassment? Okay, you guys are absolutely fucking brain dead. So, do you think within the industry now, if crap happens, that you've seen a shift where women would be like, absolutely not, like, we're not gonna do that anymore, and people know what to do about it? What? So do you think within the industry now, if crap happens, that you've seen a shift where women would be like, absolutely not, like, we're not gonna do that anymore, and people know what to do about it? What? I've read it 3 times now. What the fuck does that even mean? I think we definitely have more resources, and I think we're looking for it, and we can find the references for what to do in those situations. Because I think in your gut, you'll always know when something doesn't feel right, but the question is, do you tamp that down to stay the course, or do you look for resources and be vocal about what's going on? Can you post the link to this crazy website on Discord or in the video description? Yeah. I'll put it in chat, but I'll also put it in the Discord. Because everybody definitely needs to read this. It's such a good article. I put it in the politics and history chat. I feel like that's where it's better suited. So actual gamers don't have to waste their fucking brain cells on this. Let's get moving here, because guys, it just doesn't stop. It just keeps going. It really continues. Where do we want to end this? Where do we want to end this? Oh my, it just, I think in terms of the gaming space, look for games that don't get as much attention, because there are literally thousands of games released every year, and there are a lot of very cool, marginalized, underrepresented creators that are putting games out there for people to play on your phone, on a web browser, on Switch, on console. Here's a great website for downloading indie games, small experiences, but they give you a better sense. Guys, I know one amazing game. It is called #Dustborn. Because that is that's the type of game that we all need to experience. Hold on one second. I'm trying to find the article I've used to reference Take This. I've talked about them a plethora of times on the channel. Well, I'll just bring up my other video on it. How about that? Not that we're going to watch it, but I might as well. They talk about Take This. If you don't know who Take This is, we shared the news with our close community, and now we're sharing this to the public. They will shut down their doors before the end of the year if they couldn't secure funding. Of course, shocker, they got a massive donation 24 hours before it was going to shut down. But Take This is actually a Homeland Security funded gamer harassment organization. Yeah, it's pretty fucking bad. But she references them because she talks about... I also just wanted to plug a couple of resources that we have in games. There's Take This, which is takethis.org. Do not support Take This. They do not care about gamers. It is a group that works on decreasing the stigma and increased support for mental health in gaming. I think you should start. I think that Ashley here and this interviewer, they should apply and they should give us full articles on their experiences going through these resources because they need them. Crash Override is a website that helps people who have been targeted by online abuse, and crashoverridenetwork.com. They are a great resource if you ever find yourself doxxed or you find yourself the target of a hate mob online. They've got through all that Gamergate stuff and they know what they're talking about. If I was somebody who was trying to shill this Gamergate organization, I would probably mention that one of the most central figures of Gamergate 1 is the fucking CEO of this goddamn company. It's Zoe fucking Quinn, which, by the way, I haven't heard about Crash Override in years. She has a book called Crash Override, and I obviously know about this organization. I have not heard of a single thing that they've done. They haven't even updated their Twitter to actually be an X. Guys, we are in 2025 and they're referencing Crash Override, an organization that has not made any public posts since 2016? Guys, come on now. You can do a little bit better, can't you? They haven't posted since 2016. This guy doesn't even have a Twitter anymore, or an X, whatever they want to call it. Oh my god, I'm unblocked by Zoe Quinn. Oh my god, guys, the tables are turning. I'm unblocked by her. Things are changing. I can tell. She's on Blue Sky now. Zoe Quinn, B Sky Social. How about we fucking don't? Wow, she posts a lot, huh? Oh my god, jump scare. I'm going back. So yeah, Crash Override is... we got way off topic. Zoe Quinn's organization that they haven't done anything for in like a fucking decade. Zoe Quinn is an award-winning independent developer, professional dick sucker, artist, and activist after she became the first target of Gamergate. She began fighting to protect others from what had happened to her. Guys, it's always the victim. She became the first target of Gamergate, and don't you forget it. She was the first. Number one. It's always the victim, huh? And last, I'd say supporting Black Girl Gamers. It's an organization that has presence on a ton of social media platforms, and they've got videos and creators you can follow. But ultimately, I'd say engage with the game content that you want to see more of and change you want to see. So engaging with creators that inspire you, that you feel are bringing more diversity and more new ideas to this space, and just disengage with people who aren't, because there's really no point in giving them any oxygen if they're to make our space less friendly to everybody. I say this all of the time, and I will say this again. If anybody in chat says they like Zoe Quinn, or that she is hot, or that she is pretty, if anybody says that they find Anita Sarkeesian hot, mods, ban them. I say this all the time. The gaming industry is actually for everybody. You can be black or white. You can be a woman or a man. You can be whatever you want. If you can make a good game, that is what matters. The only people who are saying this industry isn't for everybody are the people who are saying that because they want to play a victim and make money off of it. That's really all that it boils down to. I definitely think that when it comes to mainstream video game development, we are seeing problems where there are certain people, aka conservatives, who are actually being unfairly glanced over, I guess is the best way to say it, because they're not outright banned. That's a problem. And we have a problem where there are people who run entire studios who only want certain people with certain political leanings to work for them. But that is not because of gender inequality and women aren't treated right or something. All you are really doing is looking like a fool, to be honest. If you say the women in the industry are not given a chance or the industry isn't diverse enough, the industry is extremely diverse and everybody should be able to make whatever game they want. Everybody has a place in this industry. The problem is that people like to say that they are the first of something. They're the first woman, they're the first person of color, they're the first gay developer, whatever, because they believe it will make them money and it doesn't. And you are the only ones who are creating barriers in this space. Captain Keebs, thank you so much for the 5 gifted memberships. Sorry I missed that. Well, I didn't really miss it. I had it up on screen, but thank you for the 5. I appreciate it. Thank you, thank you. You gotta make something that makes money. Yeah, you do. You have to be talented to do that. It's like every time I talk about video game journalists, I say this, I'll talk about it again. If somebody like an Alyssa Mercante wants to come on this channel and discuss her opinions, that would be fine. The problem is the very clear divide that is going on because of the way that individuals that are a part of the mainstream media or access media or people who used to be create. They create the barriers they complain about. It is like with Anita Sarkeesian and Zoe Quinn. Back during the days of Gamergate 1. It was, oh, there aren't enough women, so then more games get made with more women. Oh, then they have to shift the goalposts. Oh, well, now there's not enough lesbians or LGBT characters or people of color. And that's why we need to create narrative consultation companies. We don't need narrative consultation companies. We need to be hiring people who are better at their jobs. And that's just not happening right now. And that's an issue. Companies that are like Sweet Baby and Black Girl Gamers, narrative consultation companies, only exist because of the problems that those very people complained about and started. It wasn't a big issue before. It's only a big issue now because a few people are very vocal about it and they say it's not good enough. So yeah, guys, I don't have the mental capacity to read through this entire thing. Wow, guys, you will find that person. Capitalize that Y! Capitalize that Y! It's the beginning of a sentence, you fuck! You will find that person who resonates with your story and goes, that's me. I felt that. Okay. Whatever you say, sister. That was fucking stupid. Guys, they don't even know their own website. Man, what the fuck? Blue Sky is a 1 word. You bitches added an extra space. Come on now. Do something better. Come on, guys. You could take 8 years to put up this article if you wanted. You could take the 5 extra minutes to properly fucking edit it. Stupid, stupid, stupid. Easy Vera, listen. If your job is to write articles and you could take all the time in the world to edit that article, I'm not gonna just glance over it. Like, this is your job. Do your job. Just do it. It's not that difficult. Wrap it up. I think that's funny. Oh yeah, find your community, guys. Oh, don't let boys tell you you can't do it. You're allowed to be here. Your perspectives on games are valid. You should be able to make the stories that you want to make that are important to you. You don't have to fit somebody else's mold, and the perspective that you bring can only make a larger image stronger. And even if it's different, especially if it's different, it creates more interesting and colorful stories for us to experience together. And then you will find that person who resonates with your story and goes, that's me. I felt that. That's who you're making it for. The version of you that's out there that you don't know, who sees the world like you. Okay. I understand. I get it. Robotnik, thank you for the 11 months, almost a year. Thank you for the support. You're scaring the journos, woman. Now they won't invite you to the what was it? Womxn? WOMXN cookout? Man, I was really hoping to get invited this year. I guess I'm just not gonna. Jeez. I thought I was really in it to win it this year. I thought I was actually getting invited to the... You know what? The cookout. That's all I'm gonna say. I'm not gonna say what I was actually thinking. Wait, what is this? Existing? They feel threatened that we're going to take something away from them. And I'm like, no, I'm not taking it away. I just want us all to exist on the same plate. Now, I think that it is funny that there are so many people out there who act this way. Because as a woman myself, as somebody who has been a part of the gaming industry my whole life, who has professionally been a part of this platform talking about the video game industry for how many years now? 6 years now? 7 years now? Probably 6. At first small capacity, but now much larger. The only people who have ever told me to leave this industry or that I do not have a space are the left-leaning individuals who claim to be tolerant and who claim to be inclusive. They only want inclusion when it's the inclusion of somebody that they politically agree with. There have been very few people who I have encountered on the internet that have said, you don't have a space in this industry. And that is coming from people like this. It's not coming from the toxic, manly gamers, the sexists, right? Oh, they just want to kick us out of the industry. None of those people that you're claiming are such a big problem. They just, of course, want a reason to complain. They want somebody to be the villain. They need somebody to be the villain because they need to be able to put up articles like this. How many clicks do we think this got? Probably none. Probably none. They don't even have a single comment here. This has been up for a week now. Share your comments below. Listen here to the episode. No, it's an hour long. I'm Amy McFeminist. Sorry. It's just her voice. Okay, I just needed to listen to it for a second. Oh my, is that bad? We're not listening to this thing. We're not listening to it. I just wanted to see how they sounded. They sounded the way I would expect them to sound. I don't hear anything. You wouldn't hear anything. I would have to open it up in another tab, but I was listening to it for a second. It's bad. Listen to the episode here. Share your comments with us below. Nobody. Patriarchy on the autism spectrum. Oh, that's fascinating. Have they talked about gaming any other time in their existence? Probably not. Gaming! This was from 2022? 2023. What is this? If I don't tolerate any kind of sexism for the chat, then this could be the kind of community I grow. What? Yeah, oh, Canada. Anyway. Opinion discarded. You can keep your maple syrup. Anyway. Yeah, this isn't particularly good. In my opinion. Oh, I've been banned. GG, guys. Season 5. Who else have they talked to? Men in the Gender Equality Revolution with Dr. Michael Kaufman. Of course it was. Of course. Patriarchy on the Autism Spectrum. The Queens of Hip Hop. The Basement Talks. White Feminism. Unwell Women. I know a couple from this website. Anyway, guys. I'm glad that we read some of this. I don't hate myself enough to read this entire thing. So that's why we're not going to. Because I just can't fathom sitting here for the 2 hours it would take us. It is complete and utter lies. It is complete and utter bullshit. It is ridiculous that you are okay with going into this, making all of these claims, and not linking anything. Any research. This is what I want to find. Research indicates that female characters are overly sexualized and often shunted into secondary roles within the games themselves. This right here, I need to research. I want to know what they are referring to. Because that seems absolutely fucking ridiculous. To be fair. I feel like that's a very specific claim. And the way that that's worded is very specifically. Evidence of ambivalent sexism in female video game character designs. Bro, this is from 2016, okay? Maybe we could get something new. Study tracks 31-year history of female sexualization in video games. Guys, it's 2016. Are we really referencing an article from 2016 to push a narrative in 2025? Lara Croft. It's always Lara. It's always Lara. Famed video game icon fights her way through jungles and ruins, all while sporting skimpy clothing or a bikini. Classic. The hypersexualization of her character isn't out of the ordinary, according to a new study that examined the history of female objectification in video games over 31 years. The trend is most prominent in male-oriented fighting games like, shut up, defunded. Male-oriented fighting games like Mortal Kombat and games rated teen and above. The gaming industry has faced a lot of scrutiny. A media communications researcher at Indiana University said it's realizing it's marginalized half its audience by making women characters pander to the male gaze. Uh-oh. Guys, these games have pandered to the male gaze, even though there are plenty of women out there who would rather look at pretty women in their games. That is insane. The least, guys, they know, statistically speaking, guys, the least sexualized character found in the study was Kissy from Varadark, is that how you say it? Released in 1985. GiantBomb.com, hey! How's Giant Bomb doing these days? Haven't heard about him lately. How's Giant Bomb doing, guys? Got any news on them? As part of her doctoral project, She compiled 571 playable female characters from 89 to 2014. That's it. Because there's plenty more than that. And examined them for signs of hypersexualization. Jarvis enhance. Is that a line that represents the bottom of her breasts? Hypersexualized. See, this is my problem. You're talking about examining these characters. I need to know what these outlines are. It's like when companies say, oh, well, we ban all harassment or hatred. What is classified as harassment or hatred? Is me calling you an idiot harassment? Is me calling you a stupid fucking cunt harassment? You know, I need to know what those guidelines are, what falls under those guidelines. But, you know, this would be harder to push a narrative with if they actually gave us, like, legitimate information. And what are the signs of hypersexualization, guys? Nudity, over-enlarged breasts, or hips and unrealistically narrow waists. You know what I find interesting about the argument here about, you know, an unrealistically narrow waist is this. This is my favorite example. I'm a history nerd. I don't really talk about it too much on the channel. I'm fucking obsessed with history and period pieces. Empress Elizabeth of Austria had an 18-inch waist. That was a real woman's dress. Therefore, there is nothing that you could put in a video game that I would deem unrealistic. That was her waist. It was 18 inches. So how is it that, I don't know, an Eve, right, in a video game is unrealistic when that is what a real woman's waist was? That's fucking stupid. I'm sorry. You're not going to convince me. Oh, excuse me. Fake news. 19 inches. Oh man, guys. I just pushed false info. I'm so sorry. 19 inches. In her adult life. We're not talking about a kid here. Okay? So whatever narrative you want to push that, oh my gosh, over-sexualized, unrealistically narrow waist, I instantly discard it. Because that to me seems like an unrealistically narrow waist, but it was a woman's legitimate waist. Also, the discussion about Lara Croft has been one I've talked about many times, like with Phoebe Waller-Bridge saying, oh, well, we're having the boob debate on set of the Tomb Raider live action because we don't know if we go with a realistic chest size when there are plenty of women out there who actually have absolute massive gazoongas, very large chests. But no, guys, that would be unrealistic. Lynch traces big-breasted, scantily clad characters back to the origins of the gaming industry. Bitch, I've traced it all the way back to fucking 1839. You gotta go farther. The 80s and 90s saw rapid growth in the industry, but female game developers accounted for only 3% of the workforce in 1989. How many developers were there in 1989? Let me ask you that. Why not provide that little piece of information? 3% out of, I don't know, 1,000 people. Of course they only accounted for 3%. Overall, 30% of the video game industry was female, and the majority of them had low-paying, low-ranking positions. Yeah, because there weren't that many companies. It's always the very cherry-picked information and the way they try to portray that information to you. Like 6, yeah, right? There weren't that many developers. the industry was not the way it is today. So I would assume that Varadark, Cleopatra was black. I did actually recently learn that. But it's very specific information they're providing to try to push a narrative. But if you really start breaking it down and they had to provide the whole picture, you would go, okay, this is fucking stupid. Lara Croft's exaggerated bus line began as an office joke amongst her game developers and was supported by a male-dominated environment, she said. She said, but she didn't prove. Since her inception, Croft has had a makeover. She wears pants and a tank top now and has begun to represent a new female character trope, the hero. What the fuck was Samus? You know, if putting Lara Croft in some pants gets her described as the first feminist icon in the gaming industry because she happens to be the hero, what was Samus? Her effect on gaming, which some people in the field call the Lara phenomenon, challenges the binary of vixen or victim under which most female characters fall. For Edward Downs of the University of Minnesota, whose research focuses on the intersection of gaming and cognition, the impact of Croft-like heroes is diminished if she is still hypersexualized. Okay. It perpetuates a cycle of exclusion. Lynch said women don't like to be seen as sex objects. What about the women who sell themselves as sex objects? What about the women who sell images of their bodies online? I would love to get a brand new POV from this individual in 2025 where OnlyFans exists. I would love to see the hoops that they would jump through. Further sexism within the industry, including some hostile game production environments, has limited female perspective in game development, she said her study, which was published June 30th in the Journal of Communication. I'll look at it. I'll look at it specifically. Maybe I'll be wrong after getting this TLDR. I highly doubt it. There is a dominant masculine preference, and there has been toxic encounters that are gendered in nature, but the game industry has been very receptive in trying to involve more women. It's having more open conversations about sexism than ever before. Oof. Defunded. Interesting. Very interesting. That was fucking trash. That was not interesting. I'm sorry for making you guys go through that. It's always just the same tired narratives. Almost as tired as Mr. B. It's always the same with these people. It's never... The industry's made enough change, and we're happy with that. It's always the industry needs to make more change. She's not actually sorry. I'm not. True. Screaming at people and calling them sexist isn't a conversation. It's not. But these people want to say that they've had a conversation, even though they haven't. That was pretty educational in a retarded way. What? Bilbo. Oh god, she's yapping again. He's been tired today. He ate, completely off topic. I got Chinese food, and he stole an entire chicken wing. So he's eating good today. That's for sure. He's doing just fine. The industry won't learn from Expedition 33. Probably not. This is the problem, is that I love video games, right? So I try to give companies like the benefit of the doubt and say maybe they'll learn. Maybe they'll take this and they'll run with it. We know that 98% of the time they don't. You're not wrong, Lore. That's for sure. The amount of mental gymnastics and cherry picking they have to do even when they have a point to begin with shows how weak their argument is. Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. It's like, I always say this, and I always will say this, if people like Anita Sarkeesian or Zoe Quinn or Alyssa Mercante want to come on the channel and discuss their opinions. I'm an adult. I can do that. I can talk to people I would 100% disagree with. But the problem is that they do not want to have conversations. They want to yell. They want to belittle. They want to berate. They want to argue. Which is the problem. They don't care about having a conversation. And ultimately, I know that I couldn't change their minds. They couldn't change my mind. But the point of being an adult and the point of being a journalist is to actually have discussions with people, even if you don't like them. But these people don't want to do that. Because they're fucking stupid. I don't know what else to say. They don't want to talk to me. So why should I be friendly to them when they don't want to be friendly in turn? I will belittle and berate. Anita Sarkeesian is a hero, and I will not accept any other viewpoints. Exactly. Mods, you know what to do. I'll be wrapping up stream, though, in like 15 minutes, guys. If you have any topics you'd like me to discuss that are new, or any ridiculous articles like this, feel free to let me know, because I definitely love reading them. I love this channel. Where did the patriarchy come from? I've never heard of their channel before. I've never heard of breaking down patriarchy before, but I'm gonna look into them. I'm sure I'll find some very educational information. I'm definitely sure of it. I mean, why wouldn't it be educational? So stupid. These people are so fucking dumb. I bet they don't make a single good point. Hail to the patriarchy. Listen, I'm not a patriarchy supporter, but prove me wrong, I dare you. You're wrong. I don't need to prove. GTA 6 is making waves. I did a video on GTA 6 earlier. But if you guys didn't see, they dropped the new trailer with the male lead. I know that there's been a conversation about, did they do this intentionally because they're altering the content of the game? It's hard to believe anything about this game at this point because there's been so much news. There's been so much information about it. And I don't trust companies. I think that, yeah, obviously the first trailer that they had put out was definitely very Lucia focused. And the second one is very Jason focused. I don't necessarily think, though, that means that they are changing the content drastically. Especially where they, in the past, have completely changed every one of their plans and every piece of their content if they felt the need to, so that they could be seen as less offensive. I mean, the series has made fun of politicians, certain groups of people, and so on, but with GTA 5, the re-release in 2022, they had removed transphobic content from it. And with the trilogy that they had put out, they had altered similar things that were deemed transphobic, also getting rid of things like the Confederate flag. But according to a new report from Bloomberg, Jason Schreier, Rockstar developers are being cautious not to punch down by making jokes about marginalized groups. And in that same report, they noted that there was going to be a Latina protagonist, which is now confirmed in the Bonnie and Clyde's as bank robbers. That is all confirmed. So, yeah, I mean, I would go out on a limb and say that they did probably end up toning it down, or toning down some of their content. But I don't necessarily think that they have toned it down because of backlash within the industry. I don't think that they toned it down because of gamers. I think they toned it down because they believe that they are chasing a fad within the gaming industry. And obviously, right, GTA is going to still be edgy. I do not see a single way that GTA would be completely ridden of anything that could be deemed controversial. It is a satire of America. But I think that there definitely are ways that they could tone it back and change it. And part of me believes that they have done that. On another hand, do I think it's going to be as bad as the Saints Row reboot? Absolutely not. Plus, you have to consider with a $100 price tag rumored, that is also a big reason why some people won't buy it. And the response to this trailer has been pretty positive so far, which is always great, right? I want every game to come out. I want every game to be good. I want everybody to enjoy the titles that they want to play and that they want to purchase. But it's hard to trust companies nowadays. It is. And I would love to give them the benefit of the doubt. But I don't trust Take-Two. I don't trust Rockstar. I don't trust a team of probably 1,000 people who are working in the modern video game industry. GTA 6 can come and go, and I just don't care anymore. The worst part is that people were so excited for it, and it's been so many years now that people just don't care. It's like Elder Scrolls 6. I love Elder Scrolls. I would love a brand new Elder Scrolls game. That'd be super fucking cool. It's been too long now. There's other games that have come out that are just as good, or what I was hoping for from it. Yeah. I don't trust Take-Two or Rockstar either. As a minority group, please, developers, cut sick. Games, movies, etc. just aren't fun without some edge to them. Yeah, I don't think every single thing needs to be super edgy, but Grand Theft Auto is known for it. Mind's Eye is looking decent. I don't know what Mind's Eye is. Considering the little changes in sidings they did to the remaster. Oh, the Oblivion remaster. I don't trust the Elder Scrolls 6. That's the problem, is that it's modern day Bethesda. Bethesda used to be good 20 fucking years ago. But Bethesda has changed. I say this a lot too. I know I say that a lot, that I say something a lot too. But I do say this a lot too. Just because someone created something good a decade ago or 20 years ago doesn't mean that they can create something good today. It's like David Jaffe. David Jaffe was a part of the OG God of War trilogy that was really fucking good. And he helped a lot on that and helped make it good. But I would not trust him to make something good now. I just wouldn't. He hasn't proven himself. Bethesda ain't Bethesda. Companies change a lot and very quickly. And with the way Bethesda's been acting, like with Starfields and with Elder Scrolls remasters, and I don't have any faith in them. You can't just follow studios. Yeah, when the developers and designers are what made good games good, not the studios. Yeah, 100%. It's like Rocksteady. I talk about them every opportunity I can because it's fucking heartbreaking, but I used to love the Arkham games. And then when they greenlit Kill the Justice League, I don't know why for a second there I forgot the name of the game, the fucking shit-ass game. When they greenlit Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, I just did it again. They lost people, like they lost studio co-founders, and they lost some of those OG developers. And, well, out with the old and with the new, it turned out to be trash. And that's what happens when people end up leaving. Just because you have a good name, and that name happens to be Bethesda, or Obsidian, or Rocksteady, doesn't mean that you deserve to use that name, and it doesn't mean that that name instantly brings quality. Vera really doesn't want to think about that mess. I really don't. I really fucking don't. That was so bad. It makes me angry. You know, I was thinking the other day, I really want to play the Arkhamverse games again. I'm not going to, though. I think maybe at the end of the year. We did that 2 years ago. for New Year's and Christmas. I started, Arkham Origins on Christmas because it's set on Christmas. Maybe we'll do that again this year. I need to replay the good ones again. Because holy fuck, can I not stand the thought of Kill the Justice League being the last the last full-blown Arkhamverse game, because Arkham Shadows came out. Apparently that was fucking phenomenal. I'm gonna have to play that someday soon. That apparently was really good, though. I haven't played it. None of you have played it either, from what I know. Nobody has ever said, oh yeah, I played Arkham Shadows. One day, I promise. Yep, streamed all of them 2 years ago. It was awesome. We need to do more game marathons, but there's always so much shit coming out. Anyway, let's talk about this week. On Thursday, guys, I'm going to be streaming, because I'm going to be wrapping up streaming in about 5 minutes. On Thursday, I'll be playing First Berserker Kazan. I believe between Thursday and Saturday, we'll be able to finish Kazan. I am not sure, but I don't think I'm going to be live on Sunday. If I'm live on Sunday, we'll be finishing Kazan if I haven't already finished it. But then, the reason why I don't think I'm going to be live on Sunday is because Doom The Dark Ages, the early access starts on Monday. So my plan is streaming Thursday, Saturday, and then Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Or at least Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Because early access comes out, I want to get, you know, as much time into it as we can. So I'll be streaming that for those couple of days, and then we'll be back to the normal schedule. I don't know how long Doom is supposed to be, but we'll probably be playing that for a week and a half, and then at the end of the month, Elden Ring Night Rain comes out. But yeah, I do want to finish Kazan. It has been super fucking good so far, and I have to grind a little bit in Kazan so that we're at a good place. I don't know what fucking level I should be. I should go to Kotaku. Kotaku will surely tell me. Doom Dark Ages is gonna break the internet. Yeah, I think it's gonna be a really great game. Doom games are usually not very long, true, but apparently this one has a shit ton of side content. Eternals, if you did everything, was like 40 hours. And apparently this is supposed to be similar. Unless I'm stupid. Well, we know I am, but Doom the Dark Ages length. It is supposed to be. Thanks for the information. How long will the Doom the Dark Ages campaign be? We don't know. I had read from a developer interview that they said it was going to be a similar length to Eternals. To Eternal. Why did I say Eternals? Which, that was kind of long. So we'll see. Expedition had a shit ton of side content. You didn't do that either. Listen, Knight. I can't do all the side content in every game. I did quite a bit of side content. But I can't do all of the side content in every single game. And it is what it is. But yeah, guys. With that being said, I'm gonna wrap up the stream in just a second. Any last minute comments, put them in chat. I'll try to read them really quickly. I'll rapid fire them. But yeah, I'll be live again Thursday. We'll be playing some Kazan. On Friday, I'm going to be on New Black Street. So that'll be cool. On Saturday, I'll be live with Kazan, hopefully finishing it. And then, yeah, next week is Doom, which it's not woke from what we have seen. I've seen some social media uproar and debate. No, it is not. Don't ask for my opinion, because that's the best opinion I could possibly give, which is no. Vera, the reason I said Anita is a hero is because she is a scammer that solely targets feminists. More joke. I know. Well, maybe other people needed clarification. Yes, I'll be on New Black Street on Friday. Recommend Kazan? Yes. I would recommend playing Expedition 33 first. Expedition 33 is fucking phenomenal, but I would recommend Kazan. It is super, super awesome so far. Will the gaming industry get better or worse, Vera? One day it will get better. In like 5 years, maybe a decade. Thanks for the chill stream. A shame we can't do this more often. I love doing discussion streams, but there's always so many games to get through. And I'm first and foremost a game streamer, so I have to put as much time as possible into playing the games, or else we never get through them. But yeah, I do like doing discussion streams, and I will continue to try to do them more. But alright guys, I'm going to wrap up stream. Thank you all so much for being here the past few hours. I do really appreciate it. Thank you all for the donations, for the gifted memberships, for the re-up memberships. I appreciate all of that. Thursday, 7 p.m. Eastern, I'll be live playing some more video games, and I'm sure there's going to be more fucking insanity that happens. So, new videos today, new videos tomorrow per usual. Join the Discord if you're not already a part of it. Links are in the description. Thank you for being here. Thank you for hanging out. Thank you for stopping by, and have a very fantastic rest of your evening, everyone.